When I was 16, I went on a school trip to Budapest, Hungary. It was the late summer of 1990, so right after the Iron Curtain had come down. We visited the school there, and one of our projects was to be interviewed in English by some Hungarian school kids that they were our age, actually. Well, I got unlucky. I'm quite socially awkward back then, certainly. And I ended up, of course, being interviewed by the teacher. She was American, and one of her questions was which place in the US I wanted to visit if I ever went. Well, she was surprised when I told her that the first place I would go to was New Jersey. She asked me why on earth I wanted to go there, of all places. Well, it's home of my hero, Bruce Springsteen. She claimed it was the only good thing to come out of New Jersey. Well, you know what? Since Wednesday, I don't think that's longer true, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm in love with a Jersey girl. Hello, and welcome to the review of Champions. It's time to talk about Miss Marvel Episode 1, Generation Y, the new series on Disney+. With me are Jeff.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
Good.
Good. And Taylor.
Hey.
Hi. You're also all right tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Before we get started, I would like to ask you all to hit that like and subscribe button and maybe join our forum on sakar.freeforums.net. It's a nice little community full of nice fans. We would love it if you sign up and join the conversation. And if you want, you can join us on the show as well. See Jeff, he recently joined. And we're going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, go check it out first and then come back to the video. Let's dive into it right now. Taylor, you saw the first episode of Miss Marvel, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Tell me, how did you like it?
I thought it was a good first episode. I thought the acting, the actors were all very good. The characters were all good. They did some creative things with the camera work and with the the effects, the graphics, showing the text messages in creative ways to keep it interesting. So overall, I think it was a good episode. Now I'm seeing a lot of people online saying it's the greatest thing since the sliced bread and it's the greatest show ever made or something. I'm not there yet. Like I said, it's only the first episode, but I think it was a good episode, and we'll talk details here.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, what were your first impressions?
I thought it was a great first episode, man. I loved it. It gave us a exact depiction of what 2022 high school nerds are dealing with. So I thought that was cool, and it gave us it was a good introduction to her and what she's about. But I liked it. You could see the fanboy side of her in this episode too, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. This show was not made for us. We're all middle-aged white guys, and this show was clearly made for young teenagers and from maybe a different background than ours. That's obvious, but I still could relate very much to her because of that fanboy or fangirl, I should say, fangirl enthusiasm she had, and I also absolutely adored the first episode of Miss Marvel. I thought it was really fresh. The direction was cool. What Taylor said, the effects, how they did things, and the kind of comic booky animated style that was there a lot. I really, really liked. And we got a real good sense of Kamala Khan and how she and her everyday struggles. Let's just point it at that. So I was very, very impressed. I am not a naysayer. I never said I'm not going to watch this because it's not made for me or it's woke or whatever nonsense people say nowadays. But I didn't know the character, and I was pleasantly surprised. I hope they keep up this level. But before I talk too much, I'll let you guys do the talking. Jeff, did you have any negative comments about the show? And if not, you can elaborate on what you love so much.
Probably the biggest negative thing that I had is probably the same that a lot of people have, and that's that they changed her power set. But I like the change. I'll be honest, when they first mentioned that, I thought it was going to be kind of cheesy. I figured, man, they're going to, this is going to be total different. It's not going to be that good, but it looked really good. The effects were really good on it, so that surprised me. They did use some of her power set from the comics and stuff that she had, so I like that part. I've followed a little bit about Kamala Khan as far back as probably 2014, 15, something like that, where she was part of the Champions and that type stuff. So I've watched a little bit of her, so I was kind of familiar with what her background and that type stuff. But yeah, the series was definitely geared for the younger set, which I'm glad for. I'm happy for that. I read a lot of comics and am real active in that community, and so I'm all for that. And I was glad to see it happen. But no, there was no negatives, all positives really for this episode for me. I couldn't give it any more than a high rating.
Well, we'll get to your rating later. Taylor.
Yeah, so I'd like to follow up on some of the stuff Jeff said. I mean, all this first episode did was introduce us to the character, to Kamala Khan and her life, and it did a really great job of that. And right at the end, of course, she got her powers, so now obviously she's going to have to learn what they are and how to use them. But following up a little bit on what Jeff said, they did change the character very much from the comics, at least her power set. She's still, Kamala Khan from Jersey City, and has her, life problems and her family problems and her school problems and everything, and that's all good. That hasn't changed. But, in the comics, she's an Inhuman. And I think the change, part of that is a tacit admission by Marvel Studios that no matter how many times Marvel tries, there is just not a big fan base for Inhumans. They've tried it every which way from Sunday, and they just cannot seem to get that spark out there for Inhumans. So I think they've decided not to bother with that, at least at this point, maybe sometime in the future. Now, for Kamala Khan herself, as Jeff was mentioning, Marvel has pointed to her as a success story in the comics, which is, to me, is kind of disingenuous because she was created at a time when the bottom had already fallen out of the comic books market. It was at a really low point. So having her come out and sell a few more copies than the other stuff that was out, that's, tallest man at a midget convention thing. Mm-hmm. Everything is relative. She was not well known. Now, I think this show, if it keeps going as well as it started, might make her a very popular character, and that's great. But again, I think changing the powers is a tacit admission also that the powers she had were kind of goofy and really wouldn't translate that well. The big giant hands.
Yeah, isn't it also legs. Isn't it also that it's a little bit reminiscent of Reed Richards, and we're going to get Reed Richards pretty soon in the MCU, so they don't want to have two characters that are very similar.
Exactly, and I think that's a good point. I think that was one of the problems with the character from the beginning. And I've never actually read the comics. I'm familiar with the comic, world, but I haven't actually read her comics. I've seen her in cartoons and animated form a few times, and had no problems with it per se. But that power set is just kind of weird. So actually, I'm really interested to see how her powers continue to manifest in the show. We saw a little bit. We saw that she can make a power hand of some kind go out and catch someone who's falling. We saw that she could shoot some type of power energy bolts of some kind that cut the head off of a giant Ant-Man statue at Avengers Con. I really want my tickets to next year's Avengers Con too, by the way. I want to know how to get those because that looked like a lot of fun. And we know she can step. She's not really fly, but she can create energy that elevates her, like steps through the air. So that's interesting. And I'm betting she's probably got some more powers that she doesn't even know about yet. I hope they don't become too much the same as other powers that we've seen. In other words, like I don't want her to be shooting repulsor rays or shooting energy beams like Captain Marvel does. I want her to have some sort of unique power set of some kind. And I know that's a tall order because every power under the sun is already out there in one way or another. But I hope they try to make her a little bit unique. And then, of course, I'm also very, very curious because I've stayed away from most of the marketing, virtually all of the marketing I've stayed away from. So I don't know if we even know. I don't know who the villain is, what the villain is, what the threat's going to be. I don't know anything that's going to happen next in this show, but I'm really looking forward to that. Now there was that post-credits scene, which some people might not have done. I think this is the first show where they had a post-credit scene in the first episode.
Correct.
I have no idea who those people were. They had badges. I don't know if they were SWORD or if they were FBI or
the male character. The male character, I don't know the name, but the male character is it's the second time we've seen it because apparently he was a police officer or a police inspector of some kind in Spider-Man No Way Home. But I only know that because I read it. I can't recall it from the movie itself, so that says a lot.
I don't remember seeing him, but that's great if that's the case. So
that was the Department of Damage Control.
Oh.
Damage control. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense because they're monitoring powers. Unfortunately, her powers are out there on the internet, so who knows who else is monitoring powers? You know, maybe Julia Louis-Dreyfus will come and try to recruit her, like she seems to be doing these days. But again, who knows? But her power's out there. People don't know who she is, I guess, at this point. But I'm sure that'll be part of the story. But again, I digress. Overall. I really like the story. I like the character. I love, it was just her and her family doing normal stuff. Good things, bad things, having issues, having good times and bad times. There was no, you mentioned the wokeness stuff. There wasn't any of that in this episode. There was no in-your-face messages being thrown at you. She's just an American girl who happens to be Pakistani American, great. Who cares?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that goes to me. That goes to the like what you mentioned, also Grandmaster, about who the show is for. Okay, the Hollywood probably has in mind who something is for when they make it, but I decide what's made for me. Okay, and I like what I like, and I don't care if it's aimed at teenage girls or aimed at 90-year-old men. I like what I like. And so far, I'm liking this show because I like superheroes in general. I don't care if they're old superheroes or young superheroes.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah. Just let me be clear. I did not say it's clearly not made for us because we're not allowed to watch or enjoy it. That's not absolutely what I meant. I just say they have a specific demographic in mind when they created Miss Marvel in the comics and when they now have this show. But that doesn't mean you cannot enjoy it because there's always things you can relate to. I mean, even if it's the family dynamics or a fangirl, fanboy state of mind.
Which makes it, right, I agree 100%, which makes it a much broader demographic than some people, realize. I mean, it's not like they're going to sell a whole lot of movie tickets to the 16-year-old Pakistani American Muslim teenage girl market. Okay, there's just not that many that are going to be interested in comic books. But this appeals to much more than just that.
That's why I would never say this is woke or anything, because she is who she is. But what happens to her in the show could also happen to me or whoever's in the Marvel universe, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
And it's all about story and character, and of course a character has a background, and that is important for the way that person reacts to how things that are happening. But it doesn't mean it's exclusive, if you know what I mean. It's actually very inclusive, and that's the way it should be. Not in your face, just a story, and yeah, the character has a background. Yeah, so what?
Exactly. She's in every person. She's just as much as in every person as Peter Parker is in every person. She's got a family. He's got a family.
Jeff, you want to add something?
Well, that's exactly what this thing reminded me of, was Peter Parker's Spider-Man show, the movie. This whole series, the way they did it, reminded me of that movie, which I thought was great. But
it had a distinct homecoming vibe.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, man, that this series has done that a lot of people aren't familiar with. Like she was created less than 10 years ago. She was made up in 2013. And she's developed into this character with this type of fan base, and now with the Disney Plus show, she's the only other character to do that in Marvel history was Scott Lang. He was the previous one, and that was like 1979. So she's, what they're doing right now is setting history. I mean, this thing has broke records right now. She's the fastest rising star in Marvel comic history right now.
Yeah, the reviews make this the best reviewed Disney Plus and Marvel Studios series so far. So it's more like than WandaVision. It's more like than Hawkeye, just to name a few. More like than Moon Knight, which was awesome. So of course those reviews are only based on the first 2 episodes. So we have to wait and see how it goes further. Jeff, if I were to ask you for a rating, what number would you say?
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10, yeah, or 10 out of 10, whatever.
I will. 10 being the highest, I would give it probably a 9.5 right now. I'd want to give it a 10, but I don't want to give it a 10 because then that means, it's perfect, and I don't want to say it's perfect. So I'd do like a 9.75.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Taylor, what would you rate it?
Yeah, before my rating, I also just want to mention that the changing the character's powers, the retconning of the character, that's nothing new. I mean, they do that in the comics all the time. We've all seen various versions of different characters over the decades. They change them, so that it's nothing new. It's not like they're doing something that's unheard of or taboo in comics or in superhero stories. So I don't have any problem with that. Rating, like I said, good, solid first episode, but we haven't really gotten into story yet. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, yeah. Personally, I was blown away by it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I agree with Jeff. I can't get rated a 10 just yet. I really need to see where it's going, but I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think that's fair. That brings us to a section later on called the lightning round. But first, I want to drop something. We're not going to do cannon fodder for this review series. We just want to see how it goes. We want to make this a little bit more faster, a little bit more fresh. So just like Miss Marvel, the show is so far. But I do want to drop something because there was Grandmaster was on TikTok again this week, and he saw a video, and I checked it on in the series, and it's true. In the credits, there is a moment where it says makeup artist for Miss Steinfeld. This would mean that we would get Kate Bishop in the Miss Marvel series. I want to hear your thoughts about that. What do you think could happen? We're going to do a little speculation, but just how do you see Kate Bishop fit into the series?
I didn't even know that till you just said that, Grandmaster. So that's interesting. I never even saw that.
Yeah, you can check the credits. It's there.
I would say, now, this is complete speculation on my part, that the rumor, of course, we all know, well, it's not really rumor, it's actual fact. She's going to be in the Marvels movie.
Yes.
With Miss Marvel, with Captain Marvel. So we know that's going to happen. I'm hoping now that since you say that this is going to point us in the direction of the Young Avengers, and that she's going to become a part of that team or an associate of that team, maybe not a member of it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that's what points it to, but more than likely it's probably going to be an introduction where she meets her, something like that. But yeah, it would be really cool if that's the direction they take that in. But no, that's interesting because I didn't see that. I was too interested in reading the stuff that was in the extra credit scene. I was like reading the reports that were on the desk,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what those things meant. I never paid a whole lot of attention to the names.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's interesting.
Marvel Studios does not make mistakes, so at least not to my knowledge. So it's a given Kate Bishop will
Close
show
to the
up.
same age.
Yeah,
So
same age group. Yeah, Taylor.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's real interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah, just in the black credits after the post credit or the mid credit scene. If you let it run at a certain moment, you will see makeup art. It's a little bit in the left top corner somewhere. So just to point it out.
Is that while the graphic?
No, the black credits
at the end when it's just rolling up the screen.
Yeah. So you can just pause it screen by screen, and then at a certain moment you'll see it in the left top corner.
Okay. Yeah, well, I wasn't aware of that either, but I think that's great, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Bishop lives right there in New York. She's becoming a superhero. She probably can relate to a girl who's even younger than she is, suddenly getting powers and getting thrust into this world. So I'm guessing she's going to come and help out at some point, and that's super. Okay, that's this is the MCU. They cross over.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been looking forward to that. As far as the Young Avengers thing, I don't know if they're going to do that or not. They may do something similar to it and not call it Young Avengers. If they do make up a team of young heroes, I think Kate Bishop would be a great leader of that team, since she's young, but she's not high school level. She's in her early 20s. That was clear in Hawkeye. But so she'd be a great leader of that team. She's got training from an Avenger. She's got a lot of skills. She's smart. So however it works out, but I think it's great that they're already starting to link this character to other characters. One thing that just occurs to me that going frame by frame through the credits, and also when they have all those different things on the screen during the graphic credits before they went to the end credit scene, all those little things to look for, plus that whole big scene in Avengers Con. There were so many Easter eggs and so many things that were just on the screen for a split second. Streaming ratings are measured based on number of hours and minutes people are looking at these things. So putting as much stuff in there as possible to make people go in there and go frame by frame and spend a whole lot of time looking for everything is probably an intentional way to boost the ratings for things like this. And I don't blame them for it. I'm just pointing out that it's probably not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And by the way, things I saw in Avengers Con. How about that little picture with with Captain America showing off his buttocks, saying "You're welcome." I love that. That was so funny. But anyway.
Well, I love all the Avenger fans there, and all the Avenger, like you said, all the merchandise and memorabilia and everything, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, in a world, if the MCU were real, everyone would be an Avenger fanboy. I mean, how could you not be? Who would not be wearing an Avengers t-shirt if they were actually real?
Oh, by the way, I want to also point out that I watched this when it dropped at 9 in the morning, or for me it's 9 in the morning. For you guys, probably middle of the night in America. But I watched the show exactly when it dropped at 9. And after it, I immediately started to check on YouTube if Marvel, because they sometimes do that, have already created a YouTube channel for Sloth Baby Productions. Now, Marvel didn't, but a lot of fans already did, like within the hour. So that's funny. You know what? I think it's time for our section called the lightning round. And my first question is for Jeff. Jeff, is Bruno ever gonna come out of the friend zone?
Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah.
I think they're leading up to that as it is now, kind of, you know.
What did you think about the Bruno Kamala, or I should say, sorry, Kamala Bruno dynamic relationship?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I mean, I like the fact that he's the tinkerer. You know, he's got to come up with all the technology stuff for her. I think that's cool. You know,
so you would like to have a Zuzu at home?
Say that one more time.
You would like to have a Zuzu system at home?
Yeah, you better believe it. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think that's the way they're going to spin it. I think they're going to develop that relationship. It's going to get a little more serious as it goes on, which I hope it does. I mean, for her, I hope it does.
You hope it does. Okay. Yeah, some people online are saying they shouldn't become more than just friends. But okay. Well, we dropped the name Peter Parker quite some time, and we all know that the Spider-Man deal is with Sony is almost done. I don't know if they're going to extend it. We haven't heard anything about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But seeing the vibe we discussed earlier, is Taylor, is Kamala Khan supposed to be the new Peter Parker, in the sense that it's a young, fresh character, which is a little bit our eyes as we were, if we were that in that world as a young person?
I mean, I guess in a way you could say that she's another Peter Parker type. I mean, she's her own character, of course, and I don't think Peter Parker is actually going away. I think they are going to extend it one way or another. That he's still going to make appearances in the MCU at least, some. But yeah, I mean, you can look at her as a similar type character. I mean, they're both teenagers, they're both in high school. They live a couple of miles from each other, so it's hard to say that there are not a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I meant it. Okay, Jeff. Do you want to be good or do you want to be cosmic?
Do what now?
Do you want to be good or do you want to be cosmic? That's the question Mama asked.
Probably want to be good.
You want to be good. You wouldn't want to have powers?
No?
No?
I mean, I could handle having powers, but I could probably just handle being good, you know.
That's hard enough already. It's sometimes hard to be just good. At least that's how I see it. Well, Avengers Con. I hear it looked very good. I hear it looked better than most conventions. Is that true, Taylor? I don't know. I have never been to a convention. You?
I have been to a few conventions, and the Avengers Con did look better. I've never been to a convention where they had anything as big as that giant mash. I called him Ant-Man before, that Giant Man display, or that you had to walk through Hulk's mouth to get into the building. Now, I've never been to the big one. I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, but I've been to a few medium to smaller cons, and they're always fun, no matter how big they are. But yeah, Avengers Con was definitely would be in top tier conventions.
Yeah, you said it before. You will buy tickets.
Exactly. I just want to know what celebrities did they have there? Did any of the Avengers show up to sign autographs?
No, I only saw a guy dressed up as Drax giving autographs, so I don't know.
Yeah,
it came across as a little bit silly to me. And Jeff, would you go to Avengers Con, buy tickets?
Oh yeah, if it was affordable enough for me to buy tickets, yeah, I would go for sure. For sure. I had heard. Now this is just through the grapevine. I had heard that Kevin Feige had actually been discussing trying to do an Avenger Con after how well it did in this show. from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in the mill, but
brilliant, I guess.
They're trying to do something like that. I think that would be really cool if they did. You know, the only thing I had with that was it was really dark in that Avengers Con. I would want a lot more better lighting in there, but yeah, no, if there was tickets to go, yeah, and I could make it happen, I would go for sure.
Okay. Well, we touched a little bit on the performance by the actors. I want to pick one, and the obvious one. Iman Vellani. It's her first acting job, and she claims there was not much acting involved because actually Kamala Khan is her. How did you rate her performance, Taylor? You first.
I thought she was great. She did a wonderful, wonderful job. There's really nothing to say about it. Now, yeah, okay, you can say it was her, but not really. A lot of time actors say that. Yeah, this character is me. No, it's really not. When you're in front of the cameras and you got the director telling you to do this, stand this way, smile like this, etc. It's hard. I give actors credit, but she did it very, very naturally, and that's what I love. That's the kind of acting I like. Spencer Tracy, who was a fantastic actor from the golden age of Hollywood, he said, "I don't act, I just do." And he said, "When I'm playing a pirate, I'm playing. What if Spencer Tracy were a pirate? That's how I act." And I think that's what she's doing. She's being herself, and I think that works because then it feels real, it feels natural, it doesn't feel forced.
Okay, Jeff. What did you think of Iman? Did she steal your heart?
Yeah, she's a fanboy, man. She's read the comics. She's done the footwork. She's a Marvel nerd first and foremost. She's been fascinated with the thing all the way from I had read a thing about her where she had gotten mad at Tom. Well, she didn't get mad, but she got upset with Tom Holland when she first met him because he was talking with her about the Spider-Man movie, and he had told her that Tobey Maguire was going to be, that he had verified with her that was true. And she got upset about that and was like, I didn't want to know that because I wanted to be surprised when I went to see it, So she's a fanboy. She's a true fan at heart. So, and you could see that in this episode with her, man. But I loved her. I mean, how could you not, man? She was just so honest in it, and just a kid. That's what was so good about it, I think. It's just how honest she was, or is.
Yeah, she is. I thought she was great. She stole my heart, and I really hope she keeps on doing this. Taylor, you had a follow-up.
Yeah, I think it's great that she is the actress is a fan of Marvel, and there's no doubt about that. Everything I've seen, and even without delving deep into the marketing and stuff, I've seen her on the red carpet and a bunch of other little interviews and stuff. She is definitely a fan, and that's great. It's not essential for actors to be fans of these things, but it's great that she is. And it occurs to me, it just occurred to me now when Jeff was talking. How old is she? She's what, 16 or so?
21. 21.
Is she 21? So she's a little older than I thought she actually was.
No. She was. Well, you guys would know better than me. I think she got the call that she is cast as Miss Marvel in 2019 something, and that was her. She got a confirmation on her last day of high school. So, well, okay. She is very young.
Okay, yeah, so she is very young. And so that means how old was she when when Iron Man came out?
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10, maybe?
Yeah.
So her whole life has been surrounded by the MCU. The biggest thing in pop culture in her entire life has been the MCU. And, it shows. And I guess, as it goes on and more younger actors get into this, they're going to have that background, that foundation of having grown up with this franchise.
Yeah. Okay, Taylor, now we're talking. And since you have a big knowledge of movies and stuff like that, and I should know this movie as well because I'm old enough to have seen it. And I have seen it, but I can't really remember it because it's been more than 30 years. But I saw some chatter online. This movie had some Ferris Bueller vibes in it. with the
show had
planning
some
and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, it didn't even occur to me while I was watching it, but yeah, there is definitely some Ferris Bueller influence there, especially with the sneaking out the window and the editing, the kind of the frenetic high school editing, and the interactions with the other high school students, and the sneaking out and the getting on the bus, getting away. Yeah, there definitely was some. Plus the things happening in her head, like her plan was, they were gonna bicycle off of the bridge and land on top of the bus or some stuff like that, when actually they're actually gonna take the bus. So yeah, there was a little bit of that. Also, I always say, and I still stand by it, that Disney, big proper big head office, Disney does not interfere much with Marvel and lets it do its own thing. But there's definitely like some Disney shows influencing this show. Okay, so like if any of you from I'm gonna show that I don't care what audience these things are made for. Have you ever seen the show Lizzie McGuire, which was a Disney Channel show back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s? She was an artist. She had little cartoons that would act things out in her head, just like what happened in this, and other shows too. So yeah, but I did not think about the Ferris Bueller until just now. Of course, I don't know. I think Ferris Bueller is a John Hughes movie, and of course, John Hughes in the '80s was the king of teenage movies, both comedies and more serious ones like The Breakfast Club. So there's definitely a lot of John Hughes influence here too.
Okay, well, that's the main critique a lot of people had before this came out, that it was going to be a Disney Channel show. Well, I haven't seen too many Disney Channel shows, but I think the production value and stuff like that is great, and it doesn't feel like a kids show. It feels kids can watch it, but it doesn't feel like a kids show. Am I correct here?
No, I agree. It feels like a show to me. It feels like it could be a primetime broadcast show for the whole family.
Okay. Jeff, do you have any last remarks?
No, it feels that same way for me too. I never thought about the Ferris Bueller stuff, but I thought it was really great the way they used the humor. Like Taylor was saying about the way she was picturing the plan of how to get to the Avengers Con. She had the leaping out of the window and grabbing the tree limb and swinging down, and of course it didn't work out that way for her. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, there was a lot of throwback there that I never thought about till after I'd seen that. But yeah, it was cool. It was really good.
Taylor, any last remarks?
I wish they had dropped 2 episodes on the first day, because I'm really want to see the next episode. Is this I think there's only 6 episodes this season. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's really short. So it's going to be. I think we can expect it to take off pretty fast here in the next episode, story-wise. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that will conclude our review for episode 1 of Ms. Marvel, Generation Y. And before we finish, I would like to ask you to hit that subscribe button and notification bell on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Like our Facebook page. Join the forum on cigar.freeforums.net. That way you will never miss us, and we won't have to miss you. Bye.